We are back with working on the Nissan Gloria. We have just around 2 weeks to finish this project, and that is because the neighbors have complained. The county sent a letter to Omar saying that he has too many cars here, so we need to start getting rid of some cars. Now in the last video, we made some insane progress. We were able to test fit every panel that I have right now onto the car. We are still, however, missing the driver's side quarter panel, but I was able to use the chopped up quarter panel to test fit everything and make sure everything was going to line up okay. So in this video, we need to do some serious welding. We have a lot of seams to fill in, a lot of plugs to fill in. And honestly, we're gonna need to drill some more self-tappers to set the panels where they need to be. You can kind of see here in the wheel well, we have set some self-tapper setting screws. Now all the panels are aligned. We need to do that for the other side still, and then we can get to welding. But first, let's re-verify that everything is level. That way we don't start installing seams when they are not. Oh, still looks good. So I've been using these self-drilling screws, these ones in particular. Put it on the bit on the drill. And then I'm basically drilling the top panel down to the lower panel. Now the interesting about this particular chassis is there's threaded holes in the frame rails. So this one's threaded, so I can put a bolt through it actually, instead of using one of these self-tappers. Pretty interesting feature. I've already installed a few of them over here, and that helped tremendously. We are about ready to start welding, which is very exciting. Now I will not be welding the quarter panels at this time. The quarter panels are only test fitted, as you can see, to ensure that the trunk pan is in correct alignment. The trunk pan goes up to this seam to here. Now before I do start welding, I'm gonna use the wire wheel and attempt to prep some of the surfaces. Now I did already spray weld through primer on the insides of each panel here, but you can see, like for example, the holes that are already drilled, the bottom one has weld through primer on it. You don't always want to weld directly to weld through primer if you can avoid it. Now obviously it is able to be welded through, that's why it's called weld through primer, but you'll get a guaranteed better weld if it is bare metal. This wheel is not looking too good. It's so out of round that it vibrates so much I can't even feel my hands. They're so tingly. Now we just gotta figure out a spot to put the welder ground. Well, honestly, I guess this will work right here. All right, release the pressure, open the tank slowly. There you go. Then set the pressure. And also stand away from the screw when you open it. That's a shout out to someone who left a very helpful comment in the last Gloria video, because I would open it with this already preset, and also it's good habit to not stand directly on top of it in case it shoots out. So yeah, thank you for that tip. Now we've already determined when welding the frame rails, the heat setting of 4 works perfectly. Then I'll reduce it to 3 if it's a thin piece of metal like this being welded onto something thicker, such as the inner structure here. The wheel well is a lot thicker. But if it is thin panel to thin panel, it will be reduced to heat setting 2. There's only a couple places there's going to be a thin panel, and that is quarter panel to quarter panel structure. These are pretty thin, but all of these are going to be welded directly to a frame rail, so a lot hotter. One last level check before we start welding. Look good. Compare that to how the chassis is sitting, also leveled, so that is perfect. All right, now we just got to do that 500 more times. Check it out, we got some solid welds on this trunk pan here. I'm so hyped. It's so cool to see how my welding has progressed, even from just welding the 240 together and then now welding the Gloria together. All right, let's keep this moving. Let's start welding this inner piece here. And then we also need to weld the frame rails while we're down here. Now to ensure I'm getting a really tight panel gap here, I have installed a C-clamp. And yes, we do already have those self-tappers holding this into place, but I like the idea of the C-clamp as well. That kind of forces everything to really line up as it should, and it's working out perfectly. All right, this side is now complete. Now we gotta move on to the other side. And we have this side done now too. I am gonna have to go back and unscrew all of these self-tappers because obviously I don't want to just leave those in there. And I don't have to weld all of those holes shut after that, including the ones on the trunk pan. Now let's do the frame rails. Now there's some self-tappers on here as well, just to hold it in place. I'll probably install the C-clamp just to ensure these frame rails are nice and snug to the chassis frame rails. Luckily we got the C-clamp right here, so we'll just start squeezing this on there. But we cannot forget to increase the heat rating on the welder. Damn, that turned out good. All right, let's do the other frame rail. We're cruising along today. We're getting so much done. I absolutely love welding to this thicker metal. It's so satisfying. Nothing like this paper stuff. Okay, I cannot believe this, but everything is welded for the trunk pan. The entire trunk pan is done. These turned out incredible on the frame rails though. Absolutely love that thicker metal like I was saying. Now the next step we need to do is take out all of those screws that we put in there. Oh, even these are nice and smooth. And then we need to plug all of those holes. These gaps look insanely good. So satisfying. Yes. Now I am not welding the quarter panels on because obviously that one is incomplete. And I have not finished welding the wheel well on this side. That is because I wanted to weld on the trunk pan first, so I knew where to align this new outer wheel well. As you can see, I have it clamped down now where it needs to go, and everything lines up as it should. So that would be the next step after all of those plug welds are done. This new light is honestly my brightest light so far. And even with it just laying down like this, I think it's honestly in the perfect spot to be working. All the holes from the self-tappers are now filled in. And before I proceed, I wanted to put on this new lens because I unfortunately welded a little too close or grinded to the camera and there are dots in the lens. I'll film it on my phone so you can see it. Here's the new one and look at the camera. You can see the indents in the lens. Pretty sure these just twist off and pull out. Make sure there's no dust in there. Last but not least, let's peel off this film. Fresh. All right, let's take off this quarter panel and finish welding the inner wheel well. I had a clamp placed here, and I'm pretty sure there's one in here. Yep. Is that it? Just two? It's on there pretty snug. Oh wait, did I put self-tappers on here? Oh, I did. There's one right there. Damn, this is on there snug. Is there a clamp? Oh, I put a self-tapper down there? Dang it. Okay, so this is where we left off. I only placed a few plug welds on this inner structure, inner wheel well, so we need to finish the rest of them. And also the support that goes down to the wheel well. I only put one there so far. And we have already aligned this outer wheel well to the inner, so I put a clamp there and we can start welding this little spot on the bottom. I did tack weld it into position from the inside just to make sure it wouldn't move when I took off the quarter panel. I'm telling you guys, this C-clamp really helps hold it together. Perfect. Now we just gotta do that. Luckily not 500 more times, probably around 50 or less. This should be interesting. Do you guys remember the hidden spot weld that you had to get access to from inside this brace? Now I'm gonna weld it. At least the welder fits in there perfectly and I can get close enough to weld it. Let's see. All right, we were actually making some great progress. That one was able to be welded no problem. The whole rear half has been completed and we only have from here down. Plug welds have been completed. Now we need to drill out all the self-tappers and then weld those holes shut. It kind of worked out because if you think about it, I've basically put these in between each spot weld here and there, which is ultimately going to stiffen the chassis because now there's an additional spot weld where there wasn't one before. The wheel well is now completely welded and finished. I also went ahead and grinded some of these smooth because I didn't want it to interfere with the quarter panel when I install it. And if you guys remember, when I cut off the quarter panel for the first time, I accidentally cut too deep and ended up cutting through this structure. I've already prepped the metal, so let's get a nice weld on there. I'll most likely have to grind that down smooth as well because the quarter panel was so close to interfering with it, although it did just barely clear. And we don't want metal on metal contact when we can't see it. Oh my gosh, it burned right through. This stuff is much thinner than it looks. This is nice and smooth, ready to rock. Now I do also need to repair the wheel well section where I cut too much off of each end. Luckily I kept the old wheel well that I took off the car originally. This is the smashed one, by the way. You can kind of see it's folded in. Luckily the front is in good shape. So we're gonna need about half a finger's length in and about a knuckles width. I know, very precise measuring here. But we can just chop it straight out of this and get the exact bend. Let's see how this fits in there. I did not prep this yet. It's still not bare metal. Still has the undercoating on it. Oh, this got bent somehow. No wonder why it's not fitting. What happened here? Nice. All right. Oh, it's ready to rock. All right, this looks great. I did have a slight blowout, so I did have to fill in a little hole, but other than that, this wheel well is done. Now at this point, the entire chassis is ready. All that is left to do is weld the quarter panels on. Although I still obviously have not received this one. I'm gonna have to ask for an update for this and see what's going on with that. It was supposed to be here before Thanksgiving and that is coming up very quick. Thanksgiving is in less than 2 weeks now, I think. But since the chassis is done being welded, I wonder if I can stand on the rear of this and it'll hold its shape now. I guess that'll be the true test, right? Oh, dude, that feels solid. Heck yeah. Ah, so satisfying. I can't believe I welded the entire chassis in one video. It was 2 days worth of work though. Well, I just got an update for the quarter panel for the Gloria. Unfortunately, it is still on the boat on its way over from Japan. And then once it lands in Texas, it still has to ship over to Illinois, so that's gonna take another week. Basically, it's not gonna get here before Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna have to figure something out or see if the car can stay at Omar's until after Thanksgiving. But until then, there are plenty of other projects that I could be working on. But since I've grinded away working on the Gloria the past few days, I'm gonna give myself a little break and go for a little skate session. The days are getting colder, the days are getting shorter. We still gotta make the best of our time though.